This is us in Hawaii enjoying a relaxing vacation.
And this is our bioactive dart frog and morning gecko tank over 2,000 miles away. It's going to be unsupervised for the next 3 weeks. Here's how we can do that safely and how you can too.
When you aren't there to take care of your dart frogs or gecko tank, there's a few things you need to worry about. Firstly, your parameters like temperature, humidity, and lighting. Second, and most importantly, is food. Now, obviously, to take care of all of these perfectly, you can get a pet sitter, but since these are exotic and niche pets, pet sitters can be very hard to come by, so in this video, we'll be focusing on other strategies. We're going to take you through 3 different sections: maintaining ideal parameters, feeding strategies, and remote monitoring.
First off, let's talk about maintaining ideal parameters. To keep your parameters in check while you're gone, there's a wide variety of automated systems that you can use to control your lighting, misting, and temperature. All the ones we use will be linked in the description. The links are affiliate links, so if you decide to order through them, it really helps out the channel.
For our tank, we typically have things pretty automated already, even when we're home. This makes the process of preparing for a vacation so much easier because we're not trying to figure out an entirely new setup. Currently, we have our lights on a timer that comes on and turns off at the same time every day. We have a 12-hour photo period, which is kind of long, but our lights aren't super bright and the plants are all flourishing. We keep the same setting for vacation.
Instead of misting by hand, we have an auto mister installed that sprays a few times a day. For our frogs, the auto mister should keep the humidity near 100%. Our auto mister is just on a timer, and we settled on our schedule through observation when we first set it up. We want to ensure that all the moss gets thoroughly saturated with water at least once a day and that it has time to dry in between waterings.
This is a pretty good way to estimate the appropriate misting schedule for you, but it will depend on the surrounding humidity and temperature as well. There are also auto misters that have humidity sensors built in that will automatically mist if your humidity falls below a certain level. While we've used these on clients' tanks in the past, we don't use them in our own since they're far more expensive and we check on our tanks pretty regularly.
In a tank like this one with plenty of hardscape and a built-in fan, the humidity will vary naturally across the tank. This will allow our animals to self-regulate to some degree, which is important when we aren't there to supervise them. Our auto mister draws distilled water from a reservoir behind our tank. Before leaving on vacation, we make sure this jug of water is completely full. A gallon jug like this is usually sufficient for 2 weeks for 18 by 18 by 24. For your own tanks, take note of how much water you use with your misting schedule. This information will come in handy when you're trying to figure out how much water you need to leave in your reservoir when you go on vacation. You might even need to switch your usual water tank for something a little bigger if needed. Obviously, it's better to overestimate than underestimate, as running the auto mister when the water jug is empty can cause it to break or malfunction. If you're setting up the auto mister for the very first time in preparation for a trip away, make sure to run it for at least a few days beforehand to observe the water usage and hone in on all the settings.
Since the full gallon will get deposited over the coming weeks with only a little loss to evaporation, the water level in our tank is going to rise. All of our plants will be okay with a slight rise in water level, but to prepare before leaving, we extract a lot of the water from the drainage layer, giving it room to slowly fill back up over the coming weeks. Water changes like this, while not necessary, can be good for the plant health.
Next up, temperature control. For us, the easiest solution is just leaving our AC and heat on while we're gone so the room stays temperature controlled. If your pet needs a heat lamp, then you can have this on a timer or connected to a thermometer within the tank.
And that's it for automation. Let's get to what you're probably here for. The biggest worry when leaving your dart frogs is food. Dart frogs exclusively eat live prey, like fruit flies, so it can be challenging to keep them fed while you're away. With our geckos, we can just leave an extra big cup of their pre-mixed fruit paste. But you can't just fill a cup with a few weeks worth of dead fruit flies for your frogs.
For our dart frogs, we use 3 main strategies to ensure that they stay well fed while we're gone. The first is kind of obvious. We feed them really well before we leave. We feed our frogs every day, but starting a week before we leave, we might feed them twice a day. Typically, if you go to feed the frogs and you still see some fruit flies roaming the enclosure, it means that you fed a little bit too much last time. However, when we're going on vacation, we ignore that. Well-fed frogs can be kind of lazy and might not chase after all the loose flies that are roaming their enclosure, so a steady supply of fresh ones to their usual feeding spot will make sure that they keep eating loads before you leave. An extra big meal right before you go will give them plenty of loose flies for them to snack on for the first few days. In an emergency, a well fed, fat, and healthy frog can go for up to 2 weeks without food. However, this is not recommended, and thanks to our second strategy, it's also unnecessary.
Our second tip is keeping your tank stocked with microfauna that your frog can eat. For us, this means springtails. Springtails are these tiny detritivores that help break down the waste in your tank and can eat fungus and mold. They are critical for the health of any bioactive vivarium. They make a great fatty snack for your dart frogs, who will often opportunistically prey on the springtails that they find above the ground.
Aside from stocking the tank with springtails during the initial setup, we like to sprinkle some in every few weeks as a nice treat for the frogs. Having a healthy springtail population will also ensure that your frogs have food to hunt while you're away. About a week before leaving, we make sure to refresh the leaf litter to give the springtails plenty of space to hang out. And we sprinkle in extra springtails every few days before we leave to make sure that the population is booming by the time we have to go.
Those last two strategies alone have gotten us a week or two reliably, but now we're going to be gone for almost 3 weeks. This is going to call for our special secret weapon. About 2 weeks before we're ready to leave, we start a new fruit fly culture in a small vessel. This time we used an old Parmesan container. We want something small and compact, and wide is better than tall. Containers like this and takeout containers are nice because they tend to fit perfectly with fruit fly culture lids. After about 2 weeks, this culture should be booming and swarming with flies with plenty of larvae.
When it's time to leave, we poke a small hole in the lid. Fruit flies will trickle out of this hole while we're gone, slowly feeding the frogs. Some will stay behind to lay their eggs. Any existing eggs and larvae will hatch and pupate over the coming weeks before eventually leaving. This won't last forever, but our cultures have produced a steady stream of fruit flies for over 2 weeks. Our frogs love it, and they will take turns hanging out on the lid waiting for flies to emerge. For larger tanks or more frogs, you can experiment with multiple colonies of fruit flies or larger batches.
Finally, let's talk about remote monitoring. We use a small remote-controlled pet camera to keep an eye on all our pets while we're away. It was $15 on Amazon and it's linked below. This can move 360 degrees and transmit video live to the app anywhere in the world. This really gives us peace of mind while we're traveling. If the AC broke or the auto mister ran out of water early or something goes awry, we would know and be able to call a friend to stop by. Something like this actually happened in our reef tank recently, and because of the camera, we saw and contacted a friend who was able to intervene and possibly saved all of our fish and coral. So definitely worth it to get yourself a pet cam. We might do a full unboxing and review on this pet cam, so stay tuned.
And just like that, we're back from vacation. It is always a relief coming home and seeing that all our animals are okay. We make sure to do a big feeding right when we get home and get everyone back on their routine ASAP. As pet owners, obviously, we want to leave these little guys unsupervised as little as possible, but sometimes it's unavoidable. So make sure you plan ahead and do what you can to make them not even notice your absence. If you want to try out any of our methods or something new, make sure to try it before you leave so you can observe how it affects your animals.
That's it for this week's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you hit the like button if you liked it and subscribe for more content like this.